welcome. I'm trying to have my broadcast outside, but it looks like there's going to be a nice storm. That would have been nice because it's going to be good, but I think I have to move indoors. But let's see how it goes because it's just windy out here. Anyhow, very good afternoon to you and welcome to verses and paragraphs and everything in between. See, the breeze is just scattering my hair. Anyhow, today is the 27th of April 2018 and this is verses and paragraphs. All morning I've been putting up posts on my Facebook page and I've been getting very interesting comments, and I'm hoping that people would have already guessed what we're talking about today. And today we'll be talking about the comma, or like we'll say it in Nigeria, comma, C-O-M-M-A, the comma. I'm wondering whether I should just go inside before this rain starts. Hi, Enoho. Thank you so much for joining this live broadcast all the way from Edinburgh. Guess what? I'm still on the balcony. It's a nice windy day. I don't know whether the rain is going to start, but I think I'll continue. That's why you see my hair is flying. Anyhow, today we'll be talking about the comma, or comma as we will call it here in Nigeria. Everybody knows what a comma is because I'm sure everybody uses a comma, rightly or wrongly so, when writing. Anyway, a comma signifies a short pause in a sentence. It can also divide clauses. Clauses are parts of a sentence or items in a list, and it is often used to create division or to improve the clarity of a sentence. Now, when do you use a comma? Like I said, to signal a pause. Like if you are writing and maybe you want to read what you have written, if you want to make a pause there, then you use a comma as opposed to a full stop, which is a longer pause. So in writing, commas usually signal a pause that will be heard if the sentence were read aloud. It is a short, soft pause as opposed to the longer pause signified by a period or full stop. In Nigeria, I think we call it full stop. We don't call it period, but it's called a full stop. Anyhow, that's one. Then we also use it to separate adjectives. Adjectives, it is a punctuation that is used in grammar both for reading and writing. Elizabeth Joe, hi, thank you for joining the live broadcast all the way from Kaduna. So I now have Ella from Edinburgh and Elizabeth from Kaduna, and today we're talking about the comma, or comma as Nigerians would say, because if I say comma like this, I'm speaking English, but that is the correct pronunciation. And we all know what a comma is. When we are speaking, it signifies a short pause. And when you are writing, if you want that thing to be heard, you use a comma when you want to signal a pause. And you also use it to separate adjectives. We all know that adjectives, they qualify nouns. So you use a comma to separate adjectives when the order of the adjectives doesn't affect the meaning. For instance, she gave him a soft, comfortable blanket. The order of the adjectives could be reversed, but the meaning wouldn't be affected. For instance, instead of saying she gave him a soft, comfortable blanket. Oh, really? Ella says she has difficulties connecting. My. And Elizabeth, thank you so much. It's good to see you also. But Ella, oh my God. Oh, Joe Gibbs, Pastor Joe Jesimiel Ogbe, Elias, Ashana, Pastor Joe Gibbs, thank you for joining our broadcast. I'm sure you must have known that today we'll be talking about commas, or comma, like Nigerians would say. I'm sitting on the balcony. It looks like it's going to rain. It's breezy. I can feel little drops, but I'm enjoying it because it's cool. So that's why my hair looks breezy. Anyway, talking about the comma. Ima Ode Oko. Up. Just a great Josite. I have two of my classmates today from the University of Jos watching. Ima is in Abuja. Thanks so much for joining our live broadcast. I'm talking about commas today. And we're talking about when to use a comma. You use a comma to signal a pause, to separate adjectives, and when the order of the adjective doesn't affect the meaning, as in she gave him a soft, comfortable blanket. If you reverse the order, she gave him a comfortable soft blanket, doesn't change the meaning. However, in the phrase delicious chocolate cake, the word chocolate is a direct modifier of cake, so this particular order can't be flipped. For instance, you cannot say she gave him a chocolate delicious cake. No. So you can use the comma to separate adjectives when the order doesn't affect the meaning. So you cannot use a comma when you're talking about a delicious chocolate cake. I'm hoping my Wi-Fi host is watching from Edinburgh says that she's having difficulties connecting. I'm just watching that. I can see the clouds over there. I don't know that it's raining there and the clouds are coming this way. Anyhow, I'll still continue talking because I'm enjoying the cool breeze here. I'm not sweating this afternoon. Then you also use a comma in non-restrictive, that is non-essential clauses, when the clause you are putting in the sentence, when it is not really, the sentence doesn't lose its meaning. For instance, if you want to say Bosse came to visit, it doesn't need a comma. But when you say Bosse, comma, my second cousin, comma, came to visit, the comma is needed for the extra information to the sentence. Ima Joe Gibbs wants to know where you are. Ima is in Abuja. The last I knew, Ima is in Abuja. Ima Ode Oko is in Abuja. Ima Ode Oko. Joe Gibbs wants to know where you are. Joe Gibbs, remember Joe Gibbs? We're all classmates, all together in University of Just English Department, 86 sets. Then you also use a comma to separate independent clauses, phrases that can stand on their own. And that is when a conjunction is used. You know, if you have two phrases that can stand on their own, but you use a conjunction, then you need to separate them with a comma. For instance, let's say the two independent clauses, Benga went to the store, he bought eggs. So if you want to add the two sentences together with a conjunction, and it will be Benga went to the store, comma, and he bought eggs. So whenever you want to separate independent clauses where you're using a conjunction, then you have to use a comma. Then you use a comma when you want to set off an introductory phrase. They always set off introductory participle phrases, such as reading over her notes, Funto realized she missed an important detail. So when you're introducing an introductory phrase, you can use a comma to set it off. And then in numbers, you can also use commas to divide sets of numbers. For example, in numbers over 1,000, the comma separates sets of 3 digits at a time. So in 1 million, for example, there are 2 commas, one for every 3 decimal places. So when you're setting off numbers. And then in a street address, you also use commas. Commas divide each piece of information. For instance, 26 Ogulano Drive, comma, Surulere, comma, Lagos, comma, Nigeria, full stop. And then for the big one that we've been talking about all morning, the Oxford comma. I never knew that. I mean, I've used the comma at times. At times I omit it. I never knew it was called the Oxford comma. Now, the Oxford or serial comma is the final comma in a list of things. For example, please bring me a pencil, comma, eraser, comma, and notebook. So that is the Oxford comma, where you have a list of items, and even the last item before the conjunction, you have to add a comma there. So please bring me a pencil, comma, eraser, comma, and notebook. Hello, okay, I see some people have joined. Latifat Aduke Balogo, I don't know where you're watching from. I don't know where you're in Abuja, Kaduna, or outside the country, but thank you so much for joining our live broadcast. Da Silva Babatunde, I know that Silva is watching from Abuja. Okay, who cannot connect? Somebody cannot connect. Oh, Da Silva can't connect, so I wonder why. I wonder why you can't connect. Anyhow, thank you so much for joining our live broadcast. I hope that you can connect eventually. We're talking about commas today, and now we're talking about the Oxford comma, which most of us use in writing, and we do not know that that is what it's called. For instance, you have a list. You're listing so many things, and then by the time you get into the last one, some people omit the comma, some people put the comma. Well, it comes after the last word, just before the conjunction that ends the sentence. So the use of the Oxford comma is stylistic, meaning that some style guides demand its use while others don't. AP style, the style guide that newspaper reporters adhere to, does not require the use of the Oxford comma. It's not compulsory. But there are some stylistic people who say, okay, so there's always this contention between should we use the Oxford comma or not. However, here's the interesting part. Omitting the Oxford comma can cause some strange misunderstandings. Okay, I'll read a sentence. I love my parents, comma, Superman and Superwoman. Without the Oxford comma, this sentence could be interpreted as stating the fact that you love your parents and your parents are Superman and Superwoman. Oh, you can see me now, Da Silva. Thank you so much. I'm sitting on the balcony today, and as you can see, it's about to rain. I'm enjoying it, and my hair is all breezy. We're talking about the commas today. Imacholom. I cannot say Imacholom. Is Imacholom there? Imacholom is my friend. Imacholom. I cannot see him. Why is he not showing? I cannot see him, but he's my friend on Facebook. Why is he not on? Anyway, I want to say Bosa to everybody and invite them to join us. So, Joe Gibbs, are you asking me to say Bosa, or are you asking Imacholom to say Bosa? Ikemba of Cap. Where is Ikemba? Ikemba is supposed to be in Benin now. Akpoghene-Adaiah, I think he's supposed to be in Benin. The last I heard of him is in Benin. Anyway, today we're talking about commas or comma, like Nigerians would say, and we all know what a comma is. And we've talked about the different things. I will still go back, but I want to continue so that people who have been listening will not lose out. We're talking about the Oxford comma, and it is usually the final comma when you have a list of items. If you make a list of things and you list things, for instance, bring me a pencil, eraser, and a notebook, you can use a comma in all of them, and nothing will be missing. But at times, if you omit the Oxford comma, it can give some strange misunderstandings. And I have just read a sentence. I love my parents, comma, Superman and Superwoman. And then without the Oxford comma, this means that you love your parents and your parents are Superman and Superwoman. But with the Oxford comma, the sentence would read, I love my parents, comma, Superman, comma, and Superwoman. Full stop. Those who are opposed to the Oxford comma argue that rephrasing an already unclear sentence can solve the same problems that using the Oxford comma does. So it would be, I love Superman, comma, Superwoman, and my parents. So you have solved. So you don't need to use an Oxford comma. So there are two sides to this contention. Anyway, why is it referred to as the Oxford comma? I discovered that it is known as the Oxford comma because it was traditionally used by printers, readers, and editors at Oxford University Press. Not all writers and publishers use it, but it can clarify the meaning of a sentence when the items in the list are not single words. If you are itemizing things and you are grouping them together, you need to use a comma. For instance, these items are available in black and white, comma, red and yellow, comma, and blue and green. So then using an Oxford comma is very essential. It is also known as the serial comma, the Oxford comma. In some cases, you can leave it out without changing the meaning of the sentence. He bought eggs, comma, milk and bread. In other cases, it can be necessary. For example, I love my pets, comma, chocolate, comma, and pizza, full stop. With the Oxford comma, it is clear that you love those three things. But when you omit the Oxford comma, Now listen to this. I love my pets, comma, chocolate and pizza. It might mean that the speaker's pets are named chocolate and pizza. So you see why it is very important and necessary and essential to use the comma. Now, who invented the comma? The modern comma descended directly from the Italian printer Aldus Manutius, and he was also responsible for the italics and the semicolon. Some people say semicolon, but semicolon. And we all know what the semicolon is. In the late 1400s, when Manutius was working, a slash mark, slash, a slash, also called a virgule, denoted a pause in speech. Virgule is still the French word for comma in French. Manutius made the slash lower in relation to the line of the text and eventually curved it slightly, and that is how the comma came about. But in the 1500s, this new mark acquired the old Greek name comma, which literally meant a piece cut off, which is from the Greek word koptein, meaning to cut off. Other than the period or full stop, the comma is the most common punctuation mark in English. Now, I don't know where these little insects are coming from. I don't know whether they're coming from the weather, because I'm sitting outside. Hi, Obed, Pastor Obed DC Akanya is watching. I think you're back in Jos now and enjoying the cool weather or hot weather. Thank you so much for joining our program. And now that I've gone over, I can do a short recap for the people who are just joining us. We're talking about the comma today. The comma as a punctuation mark, and everybody knows what a comma. In Nigeria we call it comma. English pronunciation is comma, and we all know that a comma signifies a short pause in a sentence. It can divide clauses. It's often used to create division or to improve the clarity of a sentence. Now, when to use it? Use it to signal a pause. Like if you're writing and that writing is for somebody to read, use it to signal a pause, so that if somebody is reading what you have written, it will show that there has to be a pause here, as opposed to a full stop where it's a longer pause. Use it to separate adjectives when the order of adjectives doesn't affect the meaning. She gave him a soft, comfortable blanket. You can reverse the adjective. She gave him a comfortable, soft blanket, and nothing would go wrong. But if you have a set of adjectives like delicious chocolate cake, where chocolate is a direct modifier of cake, this particular order cannot be flipped. And then a comma can also separate non-essential clauses. For example, Bosse came to visit, doesn't need a comma. But when you now say Bosse, comma, my second cousin, comma, came to visit, the comma is needed for the extra information to the sentences, and so on and so forth. You can also use the comma in numbers. For instance, if you have numbers that are over 1,000, you need a comma to set off the decimal places. If you're going to write 1 million, numbers, you will need 2 commas, because they will set off 2 slots of this. Obed, thank you so much, Obed. Pastor Obed and his family were in Lagos, and they are back in Jos. He said he's coming for his personal lesson when next in Lagos. Please do come. And while you are waiting to come, you can tune to my YouTube channel and you type my name, Irumena Mata. It will come up. Subscribe. There's so many of them you can watch. You also know that when you're writing a street address, commas divide each piece of information. Now you'll be hearing the sounds of children, because today is Friday and they close at 1 o'clock. And of course, 1 o'clock is my transmission time. So there are lots of children passing on the street. I'm sitting on the balcony in Surulere. All right. So now, when you're writing a street address, you use commas to divide each piece of information. 26 Ogulano Drive, comma, Surulere, comma, Lagos, comma, Nigeria, full stop. And then we'll talk about the almighty Oxford comma. The Oxford comma is very important if you want to make sure that whatever you're going to say does not create misunderstanding. For instance, the one I put up on my Facebook page, which was causing so much laughter, my friend Dr. Raphael James called me. I was laughing on the phone, laughing his head off, is you have a sentence, let's eat grandpa. let's eat grandpa. I mean, when you say that, when you believe that, okay, this child wants to eat grandpa, and then, but when you say let's eat, comma, grandpa, it means the young child is calling his grandfather for them to eat. So we're talking about the Oxford comma, and it's the final comma in a list of things. As in, please bring me a pencil, comma, eraser, comma, and notebook. But there are two classes who say you don't need it. Some say you need it. And then the people who say that you need it is, for instance, you just say, okay, if you are omitting the comma, the Oxford or comma, you now say, I love my parents, comma, Superman and Superwoman. So without the Oxford comma to separate the different things, it would mean that the person's parents are Superman and Superwoman. But the people who say you shouldn't use the Oxford comma say you can rephrase the sentence, and you say, I love Superman, comma, Superwoman and my parents. But whatever it is, the Oxford comma, it sure helps when you are writing. And now, see me, I was enjoying the coolness. Sweat has shown that he is master of the game. So I'll just get something to mop my face now, because whenever I watch the playback and I see my face wet, it's not fine. It's not fine. And then I don't know whether my sister-in-law is still on. She was trying to connect. Da Silva was trying to connect. I don't know whether she can connect. Who again was trying to connect? I hope you are all able to see me right now. I just want to take some tissue and mop my face. I don't like it whenever I'm watching the playback. It doesn't look very, very nice. It looks as if somebody they suffer me, and nobody they suffer me. And I miss it. I won't judge how they do this thing. Anyhow, okay, here you go. All right. Okay. All right. So we're still talking about the Oxford comma and how not using it can cause strange misinterpretations. For instance, I said, I love my pets, comma, chocolate, comma, and pizza. But if you say I love my pets, chocolate and pizza, it would mean that your pets' names are chocolate and pizza. So that is all about the Oxford comma. And I told you, the man who invented the comma, the Oxford comma, descended direct. No, not the man who invented the Oxford comma. Why is it known as the Oxford comma? Because it was traditionally used by printers, readers, and editors at Oxford University Press. But not all writers and publishers use it. But they can clarify the meaning of a sentence when the items in a list are not words. As in, you have these items are available in black and white, red and yellow, comma, and blue and green. And now I can feel the raindrops on my legs. So before the rain comes, let me just tell you our word of the day. Our word of today is trion. I tried to get the pronunciation properly. Trion. I cannot bite my mouth. And it's spelled Treen. Is an adjective, and it is and trion are small domestic wooden objects, especially antiques. But I remember when I was in Abuja at the time, there's this group of people who used to make wooden plates, bowls, and I so loved that I even bought some. I gave some to my cousin, and she used to use them to serve salad. So those are trion. That is trinware, household utensils, dishes made entirely of wood. So I just hold it up for you to see the spelling of trion and possibly the pronunciation trion. It's spelled Treen, but if you go online, if you go to Encounter Dictionary, you check the spelling. So treen, Treen, and the pronunciation is trion. I'm hurrying because the rain is about coming down. And then our quotable quote. This our quotable quote is to remind you to believe in yourself. Our quote for today is, never be limited by other people's limited imaginations. You know, you have a fantastic idea and somebody, because they can't aspire to that one, they also want to try and cut you down, and they don't want to encourage you. So this quotable quote is reminding you to believe in yourself and encouraging you to believe in yourself. Never be limited by other people's limited imaginations. And this quote is by Dr. Mae Jemison. This is the second of our quotes we're using. Oh, hello, finally, hello, got on. Dr. Mae Jemison is an American engineer, physician, and NASA astronaut, and she is the first African American woman to travel in space when she went into orbit aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour on September 12, 1992. And that is a quotable quote for today, reminding you to believe in yourself. Never be limited by other people's limited imaginations. That's a quotable quote for the day. Well, the rain is still drizzling, but I can still talk. And our word of the day is treen. T-R-E-E-N is an adjective, and it's means made entirely of wood. I think maybe I don't know what. I remember when I was in Abuja that time, we had these household utensils made entirely of wood. I used to love them, lovely. So that is treon. So when you have those ones, they're called treon, and they're also called treen ware. So that is it. Today we've talked about the comma. We all know what a comma is and what a comma does, and especially the Oxford comma, which was known as the Oxford comma because it was traditionally used by printers, readers, and editors at Oxford University Press. But not all writers and publishers use it, but it can clarify the meaning of a sentence when necessary. So, for instance, instead of just listing things, at times you set off your list of items with a comma. And then, like I said, there are two schools of thought. Some say you should use the Oxford comma. Some say you shouldn't. That rephrasing an unclear sentence makes you not to use an Oxford comma. Anyway, the rain is coming down now, and I will soon get up and go. But it was so good to have all of you watching. Thank you so much for joining our live broadcast, and a shout out to all the class of 86, University of Jos English Department, Joe Gibbs, Maodeoko, Emmanuel Cholom. I didn't see him online, and to every person. And now my senior brother, Professor Amata, is joining, and I'm signing off. So, Brother Ifo, you have to go and watch it online, or you go to my YouTube channel. We're talking about commas today. It is raining on the balcony, and I need to get away before I get drenched in this piece. So, thank you everybody for joining our broadcast. Thank you, Elizabeth Joe, for tuning in from Kaduna. Latifat Aduke Balogun, thank you so much. And every other person, if I missed any, thank you everybody for tuning in today. And have yourselves a nice weekend. It's Friday, and that means the weekend. I know my younger sister, she loves Friday. She's always screaming whenever it is Fridays. I guess because she was born on a Friday. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. If you joined in later and you would like to watch, it will be up on Facebook. Failing that, you go to my YouTube channel, you write my name, Irumena Amata, and you subscribe, and you can watch this and all other broadcasts. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and see you on Monday by God's grace. Bye bye.